Okay, friends. So we'll start with the astrological chart analysis on the birthday of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, a renowned spiritual guru from India who runs the Art of Living Foundation. So, yep. So let's talk about Guruji's chart. He's called as Guruji by his disciples, fondly called as Guruji, and it is also uh, a special day. It's his birthday, and we look at his life in detail. So I've got the birth timings from Astro Data Bank. I've also seen the birth timings in this book called the 765 Notable Horoscopes. And then there are other astrologers also who use the same birth timing to get his astrology chart. So please don't leave me comments asking for the birth timing and how I got it and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's start with the analysis right away. This is the birth chart. This is the Kundali of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar as per Vedic astrology, as per Hindu astrology, Indian astrology. And very importantly, when we analyze anyone's chart, we look at the rising sign. We look at the lagna, as it is called in Indian astrology. And on his lagna, on the rising side, on the ascendant, we see Mars. And Mars is exalted. Mars is in the sign of Capricorn, where it really does well. So that brings this ability to be like a commander. And remember that the sun is also exalted in his chart. So it's a very special feature in his chart that so many planets, sun, moon, Mars, all are exalted. Jupiter is also exalted. Uh, Except for Rahu and Ketu debilitation, all the other planets are really placed in a very good position for him. And that is something quite amazing to observe. Also, we notice that three planets are placed in the fifth house of Purva Punya, which I will discuss in detail because wherever there are multiple planets, that becomes the focal point, that becomes the seed of the horoscope. Also, Moon being placed there, it becomes the seed of the horoscope. So let's move on. So, my friends, the teachings of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar at the Art of Living are based on three things: seva, sadhana, and satsang. Seva means selfless service, sadhana means spiritual practice, satsang means the dialogue between the guru and the disciple, and it also implies singing, and celebrating together in the presence of the master or in the presence of other fellow disciples. So, these being the three cornerstones or the three foundational aspects of his spiritual practice, I would like to go into his chart with these three as the context. If you have any questions coming up in your mind, feel free to put it in the comments and I'll be responding to you. Uh, so, we talk about seva, service, and what is the service aspect in his chart? So when we see anyone's work, when we see anyone's career, profession, life purpose, we look at the 10th house. So the 10th house is here, the sign of Libra. Sign of Libra is about dealing with people. It is about public relations. And it is connected with the 6th house. Libra is ruled by Venus. So the connection with the 6th house, that is service, the house of service, the house of health. So he teaches, he gives the knowledge related to health, for yoga, for meditation. He gives the knowledge which is related to service. So they do all kinds of service in different parts of the world, and spreading spirituality in itself is a big service. So this is one thing we see in his chart. Then we also see that the third house is ruled by Pisces, and the Lord Neptune is again sitting in the house of the life purpose, the 10th house. So Neptune brings this enchantment. Neptune brings this uh, quality of mesmerizing others. And this is a quality which Sri Sri Ravi Shankar has when it comes to his work. And also, we see that the Karma Yoga aspect from the third house comes to the 10th house of the work. The third house is Karma Yoga, action. Also, we see that his sixth house, the sign is the third sign, which is action, communication. It's an active sign, Gemini. So we are seeing from multiple angles this aspect of Karma Yoga, this aspect of service, as we call it. And his work gives him this mass appeal. So let's go further and see how things pan out in terms of sadhana. Sadhana is the second foundational stone. And in his chart, how do we check the sadhana? Well, in his chart, the Lagna Lord itself, the Lord of the rising sign, is Saturn. Saturn is the sadhu, Saturn is the monk, Saturn is about sadhana and hard sadhana. And Sri Sri Ravi Shankar definitely uh, where his Lagna Lord Saturn is in the 11th house of organization of groups, and it is sitting with Rahu. Rahu means the global appeal, and his organization is all about sadhana, spiritual practice, and it is happening in the eighth sign. So that means Scorpio. Scorpio is the house of mantra tantra, is the house of deep spirituality, is the house of understanding metaphysics, all of this. So we are seeing that connection in his chart, in his personality, and we can see that Saturn and Rahu, they are considered as malefic planets. They are considered as uh, slightly harmful in a way, but when they are placed in the 11th house, they are not as harmful as they would normally be. So this is a benefit for him. Again, the malefics being placed in such a position is again a plus point in this chart. And we've already seen all the other exalted placements, etc., etc. Saturn is retrograde in his chart, which means he's also reaping the fruits of sadhana from his past lives. Retrograde means the planet is looking in the reverse direction in some way. And Rahu, placed in 11th house, means by creating this organization Art of Living, he is exploring the purpose of this life. Rahu is what we explore in this life. Ketu is what we gathered in the past life. Ketu again for him is sitting in the house, fifth house, which is the house of Purva Punya, Mantra, and so on, which I'll come to in the next segment. Okay, now let's explore more. Sudarshan Kriya is one of the primary techniques in art of living invented by Sri Sri Ravi Shankar himself. So Sudarshan Kriya is a primary invention, and let's explore Sudarshan Kriya a little more astrologically. So this news article in the Times of India says that on September 17, 1981, by the banks of Bhadra River in Shimoga district is where he got the download of the Sudarshan Kriya, where he got the inspiration. And it was for the promoting health, it was also for the well being of people. And he says it was like giving birth to a long awaited child. So this was a very special event in Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's life. And when did this event happen? This event happened during the Jupiter Saturn period. Jupiter as is the guru. Jupiter we know is the planet of wisdom. And Saturn, again, as I mentioned, is the sadhana, is the sadhu. So in this Jupiter Saturn period, when he was doing the sadhana, he got the inspiration, the cosmic download of the Sudarshan Kriya. And Jupiter is in his seventh house, the house of people. So he got some guidance, Jupiter's guidance. Seventh house is other people, first house is myself, seventh house is opposite, it is other people. So he got the sadhana, he got the guidance for the others, for the benefit of others. It was not for his own benefit. He has not practiced Sudarshan Kriya to reach that level. He had his own sadhana. But Sudarshan Kriya was for him to help others benefit. Saturn's sub period was the time when his retrograde Saturn gave him the fruits of his past life sadhana and also the sadhana in this life. So he must be around, I don't know, maybe when he was in his 20s when he got the Sudarshan Kriya. So whatever sadhana he did till then, he got the fruits of that for the benefit of the world. Cancer and Scorpio are the water signs in which Jupiter and Saturn are placed. Jupiter is placed in Cancer, water sign, exalted over there. Saturn is placed in Scorpio, again a water based sign. And that's why he discovered this technique by the river Bhadra in Shimoga. So it's very interesting how this stuff relates. Now, let's look at yeah, just type yes in the chat if you're understanding what I'm saying. If any questions come up, put them in the chat, in the comments. Okay. Now, uh, as I said, his fifth house has three planets, Mercury, Ketu, and Moon. So that is the power-packed place, which I mentioned earlier. And remember, fifth house is the area where we see youth and children, we see Purva Punya, we see fun, we see mantras also from fifth house. So it gives us the fruits of the past life. It's also a house which is about enjoyment. It is about higher learnings because you learn new things to gain stimulation, to gain enjoyment. And his organization is all about higher learnings. Food and entertainment is given a very special place. They use music and songs for spiritual celebration. So, as you can see, this book cover here, it's about knowing your child. So, children and youth are given a lot of importance. The spiritual celebration, which is called as the satsang, has lot of singers, very good singers. They play guitar, they play different instruments, and they present the spiritual songs, and people sing along with them. It's like a spiritual rock concert. It's a spiritual celebration, utsav. And this is very common in the art of living, which is Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's organization. Sri Sri Ravi Shankar also, his family has an important role to play. His sister uh, is Banumati Didi, and she's also a satsang singer in the organization, and she plays a very important role in the organization. Also, his mother is shown in this picture, and this is a childhood picture with his sister. So his family plays an important role in the organization, and that is because the Lord of the family, the Lord of second house, Saturn, is placed in the 11th house. The Lord of the family is placed in the 11th house of organization. So he's doing this with the help of his family, definitely. Now, again, coming to the point about youth and children, this is what he does. He conducts many different programs. He interacts with the youth of the country, he interacts with the children, and he tries to connect with the younger generation using stuff like FB Live, using stuff like Instagram, YouTube, all of that, all of the social media, the modern means. And that is exactly what Fifth House is about, connecting with the youth. Then in his fifth house, again, he also connects with celebrities. He uses social media a lot, as you can see, because Mercury is about media, Mercury is about technology. And Mercury is in his fifth house, so he's using technology to connect with the youth. Okay? And he's teaching them because the fifth house sign is number two, Taurus, which is the sign of education. So he's teaching them also. He's giving them advice, he's teaching them, he's giving spiritual learnings. So you can see him talking with the youth icons of the country like Pankaj Advani, like Mika Singh, sports stars, celebrities, pop stars, and so on. And also, fifth house is the house of entertainment. So he talks to the entertainers so that he can reach this mass audience. Now, Mercury and Ketu conjunction is seen in his fifth house, and this emphasizes the importance of silence and mantras. Mercury is what we speak. Mercury is the planet of communication, and Ketu is the planet of detachment. Ketu is the planet of moksha, detachment, spiritual realization. It is about secrets. And Taurus, which is the sign of the fifth house, is again the throat or the voice. So what is happening is he's using mantras, he's using silence, these kind of combinations because of this Mercury Ketu in his practices. Even the Sudarshan Kriya, those of you who've done it would know that there is a mantra involved in it, breath is involved in it. So it's a way of using breath, sound, and silence. So just a joke here that a master is it proper for a monk to use email? And the master says, sure, as long as there are no attachments, you can use email. So it's very interesting that Ketu, the Zen master, Ketu is the planet of detachment. So it says avoid attachments. And this is what Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is helping people to do through his modern methods, through his methods which are fun. And again, talking about mantras, because fifth house is so important in his chart, mantras are an important part of his practices. We know that he was a Vedic Pandit for the Beatles guru, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So he talks a lot about the efficacy of mantras. Mantras can be secret, mantras can be deep, and he gives secret mantras in the Sahaj meditation to his Sahaj Samadhi meditation to his disciples. Also, he talks about fun. He says that when you follow fun, misery follows you. When you follow knowledge, fun follows you. So, knowledge and deep understanding to create a happy life. And in his fourth house of happiness, we see Sun is exalted. So, he stresses a lot on happiness and smile during his art of living courses. Now, yes, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar seen with the Beatles guru Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and these are the Beatles with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So he was a very close, very important Vedic Pandit in the court of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Taurus connection with food. Now let's talk a little bit about food because his fifth house Taurus has three planets. So the food connection comes. When we spoke about Sadguru Jaggi Vasudev, also we spoke about food because there also Taurus was prominent in some way. It was his lagna. So in Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's chart, it is the fifth house, which is the seed house for him. And we are seeing Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's interest in food. He's apparently also a very good natural cook. Uh, Ayurvedic food is a specialty at his ashram in Bangalore, India, South India. Now, let's look at another aspect. We see Sun exalted in the fourth house, and the fourth house Lord Mars is in the first house, again exalted. It's a very powerful combination which gives him great management and leadership skills. So to run these big spiritual organizations, not enough to just have, disciples and talk about gyan, talk about knowledge. No, it's also a lot about how you can manage and how you can lead people. And we saw in Jaggi Vasudev's chart also, Leo fourth house, where you had this immense leadership and management skills. Also, Sun and Mars represents the connection with war. And I have seen personally in Pune at the one of the Art of Living ashrams, there were militants who surrendered and they came to Pune. They were from the northeast of India, and these militants they were being reformed. They were being trained in yoga, meditation, etc., so that they could live a life of empowerment, go back to their native places and teach meditation, yoga, and so on. And it was amazing to see them, their training, all of that. I've seen it with my own eyes, this kind of service done by the Art of Living to transform the lives of transform the lives of people who are militants into spiritual teachers. And also the fourth house sun is representing the Vishalakshi Mantap, which is the big building in the Art of Living ashram. It's a big building, it's a massive structure, glorious structure, and glorious structures always indicate power and prestige, which is exactly what his fourth house is about. And he created this almost palatial looking meditation hall, and it's named after his mother, which is again the fourth house connection. It is named after his mother, Vishalakshi. So Vishalakshi Mantap. So Vishalakshi is the name of his mother. So he's used his mother's name for this structure. So again, the fourth house comes into play. Okay. So it's very interesting, all these connections. Also, his connection with power, very close to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Multiple occasions where he meets the Prime Minister and talks to him about different matters, subjects. Okay, so now we'll come to another topic about public image and controversies. And there are tough times in everyone's chart, you know. And even though we try to do our best of our karma, there are still challenging periods in everyone's life. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges, about his thing, and we'll talk a little bit about the future, and then we'll conclude this session. So the tough placements, if I would like to talk, is Rahu in 11th house, organizational matters, there can be some cheating because Rahu is in his 11th house. 11th house is the house of the organization. And it is also the eighth sign of scandals, mysteries, cheating. So Rahu in this placement can be lead to some kind of cheating in his organization because also we see Jupiter, which is in the house of public dealing, coming under the aspect of Rahu and Mars, which is again a tough affliction for Jupiter. So his public image, from time to time, there can be periods when he will have a tough time with the public image. There can be criticism, and that is all very much part of the game. Venus is in the sixth house for him. Again, money related issues, money related, some kind of problems can come up during his work. And we saw these kind of issues from the period of May 2010 to May 2012. And as per the 12-year cycles, I'll talk about the future. So what were the challenges he saw from May 2010 to May 2012? So essentially, there were some problems. This is from Wikipedia, just a screenshot from Wikipedia to show you what I'm talking about. And my friends, if you see, uh, he had, you know, this problem with anonymous bloggers who were writing something about his organization and bringing, in a way, it was a sort of defamation also. And they were probably ex-art of living teachers who were criticizing certain aspects about the organization, maybe revealing some things which were secret to the world. So they had a lawsuit, they had court cases and all of that. And this was happening in the period between 2010 to 2012. So those are the activation years of the sixth house, seventh house, eighth house, which is exactly about court cases, issues, public image, and all of this. The land encroachment problem also happened in 2011, and that was around the time of the seventh house activation. The seventh house is the sign of Cancer, fourth sign, which is about property. So again, property related problem came there, and his public image also got a little bit of a problem. And then there was also a World Cultural Festival. Then I think, if I remember correctly, there was also an assassination attempt at him during these years. The World Cultural Festival was later, it was in 2016. So, but I'm essentially talking about these years, 2010 to 12, when there was an assassination attempt, when there was this anonymous bloggers problem, then there was a land encroachment stuff going on also, which was a case filed against him, all of that. So yeah, so there are multiple challenges when you run a big organization, but let's talk a little bit about the future of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. So as I said, the years 2010 to 12 were quite tough for him in the terms of the 12-year cycles. And let me mark this stuff here. So, so, so 2022, sorry, 2021, May 2021 onwards, which is now his birthday, he might have some issues related to May 21 to May 22, May 2021 to May 2022. He might have some issues which are connected with the sixth house of cheating, some kind of irregularities in the day to day affairs of his organization, some kind of problems in communication, some kind of obstacles coming in his way. Also, Venus is sitting in the third house, so there could be some kind of issues uh, which are related to money. So some kind of money related stuff could go wrong in his organization. So some obstacles in that area because sixth house is the house of obstacles. Then let's talk about the year 2022, May 2022 to May 2023, it is an activation of the seventh house, the public image. So something could come up regarding land, regarding the ashram, regarding the management of his ashram, regarding Jupiter is activated. So some problems from people from distant land could come from him during these years. So essentially, 2022, 2023, seventh house activation, there could be problems which are related to, there could be some challenges. I'm not saying there will always be problems. When I say the year is tough, doesn't mean every day is tough. It just means that there can be some challenges. And what I can see is that this is going to impact uh, the flow that he's been having so far. Because last year, since the lockdown, I have seen that Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji has been quite active online because that was the fifth house activation from May 2020 to May 2021. So he was quite active because the one of the strongest houses in his chart is activated. But now some of these challenges can crop up in the years to come. It's always good to be careful about these things. Also, 2022, 2023, the seventh house activation, we will see him teaching on a larger platform. We may see him teaching on the world platform. These are also the positive things that are going to happen, definitely. Then, eighth house activation, May 2023 to May 2024. This is as per the 12-year cycles. I'm not using dashas at the moment. So May 2023 to May 2024, eighth house activation. And eighth house activation, my friends, is going to be, yeah, it's going to be in a way challenging, especially the challenges could come up, some upsets could come up, some sudden changes in the organization could come up, something related to the management again could come up, leadership aspect, all of these things. So there can be some kind of uh, big changes in his life from 2023 to 2024 because the eighth house is activated. Pluto is sitting in the eighth house. And I'm particularly concerned because these years, Saturn is going to be transiting the first house. So Saturn is going to be in the uh, first house when his seventh house activation is going on, and Saturn is going to go to his second house when his eighth house activation is going on. I'm talking about transits of Saturn. So the drishti of Saturn is going to create some more complications. And that is why I feel that the next 3 years for Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji are going to bring in some challenges. Definitely, someone who has such a high spiritual stature will definitely go through these problems in a very glorious, in a very dignified manner. But definitely, these are some of the things which we can say about his chart for about the next 3 years from what we have seen so far. Now, my friends, I hope that I have done my best to bring clarity about the chart of this very renowned personality who is doing immense work for spiritual upliftment of humanity. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments very quickly. I'll just wait for 2 minutes and then we'll quickly wind up. If you have any questions about this chart of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji, just put them in the chat very quickly and I'll answer them. If there are no questions, then we'll uh, conclude this session. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you Sapna, thank you Anup, thank you Kirti, thank you Veer Banu, Shweta, Trevor, Amina, Anam, Rajan. Thank you everyone for joining. It was wonderful. I'm just waiting for the comments. And you can check out my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've done a lot of analysis for guys like Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, for people like MS Dhoni, a lot of different celebrity charts. And these are very helpful for newcomers to who are learning astrology to see how it works and how beautifully it works, right? So celebrity charts are a good way to learn. And of course, definitely, whatever readings I do here, they are for an educational purpose. It's not for you to, judge people's lives. Okay, friends, so I don't see any questions, so we'll wind up for tonight. And if you still have anything to say, leave it in the comments. Connect with me on YouTube. Cheers.